The alarm bells rang through the massive station that housed the Galactic Council. Admiral Zektar rushed down the metal corridors, his forearms carrying data tablets and emergency reports. His blue skin had turned pale with worry. In 30 years of military service, he had never seen anything like this. The council chamber buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from 50 different species sat in their assigned seats, speaking in worried whispers. Some had tentacles, others had multiple eyes, and a few looked almost human except for their strange skin colors. But they all shared the same expression of fear. "Order! Order!" called Council Speaker Velmoth, banging her crystal gavel. The room fell silent. "Admiral Zektar, please present your report." Zektar stood at the center of the circular chamber. A holographic display appeared above his head, showing star maps with large red zones marked across them. "Honorable Council members, we face an unknown threat. In the past month, 17 star systems have gone completely dark. No communications, no ships, no life signs, nothing." Worried murmurs filled the chamber. Dr. Vexani, the Council's chief scientist, raised one of her 6 arms. "Admiral, do we have any visual evidence of what's causing this?" The hologram changed to show grainy video footage. Strange ships moved across the screen, their surfaces seeming to bend light around them. They were sleek and angular, unlike anything in the known galaxy. The ships appeared and disappeared like ghosts. "These vessels don't match any designs in our databases," Zektar continued. "They use energy signatures we've never seen before. Our best scientists can't even understand how they work." A representative from the peaceful Kalari people stood up. Her name was Kethri, and she spoke in a soft, musical voice. "What about our defensive fleets? Surely the Hegemony Navy can handle this threat?" Zektar's expression grew darker. "That's the worst part. 3 days ago, Battle Group 7 went to investigate the Outer Rim disturbances. 25 ships, including 2 dreadnoughts. They found something." The hologram showed the last transmission from the patrol fleet. Massive structures emerged from what looked like empty space. The structures were enormous, bigger than entire cities. They dwarfed even the Hegemony's largest warships. "By the void," whispered someone in the audience. "What are those things?" The transmission became fuzzy with static. Strange lights flashed on the screen, then suddenly everything went black. That was their final message. Zektar said quietly. 25 ships, 3,000 crew members. Gone without a trace. The chamber erupted in frightened voices. Some representatives demanded immediate military action. Others called for diplomatic contact attempts. A few suggested running away to distant galaxies. Speaker Velmoth banged her gavel repeatedly. "What about the humans?" she asked when the noise died down. "Their planet Earth is in one of the affected sectors. Have we lost contact with them too?" Dr. Vexani checked her data pad. "No, honored speaker. Earth still transmits their usual signals. Our monitoring stations report normal human activities. They continue farming, building their simple machines, and broadcasting their entertainment programs." "Farming and entertainment," scoffed Admiral Zektar. "While entire civilizations disappear around them, the humans worry about growing crops and watching moving pictures." "That's not fair," said Kethri gently. "The humans are a peaceful species. They've never even achieved faster than light travel. According to our observations, they spend most of their time creating art and helping each other. The Council had been watching Earth for over 200 years. Their hidden monitoring stations recorded human activities and transmitted reports back to Galactic headquarters. The reports always described the same things. Humans worked in fields, built simple cities, and seemed to care deeply about their families and communities. "The humans are under our protection protocols," reminded Dr. Vexani. "Any species that hasn't developed space travel gets special status. We're supposed to keep them safe from galactic conflicts." "Safe?" Zektar laughed, bitterly. "How can we keep anyone safe when we don't even know what we're fighting?" A new alarm started ringing. A young communications officer ran into the chamber, his green skin flushed with panic. "Speaker Velmoth, another fleet has gone missing." "Which one?" demanded Zektar. "The 7th Exploration Group, 50 ships investigating the Kepler sector. They sent one message, then..." Nothing. The chamber fell completely silent. 50 ships represented a significant portion of the galaxy's military strength. Whatever was out there had just proven it could destroy major fleets without any apparent effort. Dr. Vexani studied her readings carefully. "The pattern is strange," she said slowly. "The disappearances aren't random. Someone or something is targeting specific systems, military outposts, trade routes, communication hubs. It's a coordinated attack," agreed Zektar. "But by whom? We've cataloged every spacefaring species in the galaxy. None of them have this kind of technology." "What if it's not from our galaxy?" suggested a reptilian representative. "Maybe invaders from outside our space? Or what if it's something we missed?" added another voice. "A species that stayed hidden until now?" The debate continued for hours, but no one had real answers. The mysterious enemy remained invisible, striking without warning and leaving no survivors to tell their stories. All the council could do was send out warnings and hope their remaining fleets would be enough. As the session ended, representatives filed out slowly, their faces grim with worry. The galaxy had enjoyed peace for decades, but now that peace was shattered. Far above them, in a monitoring station that no galactic sensors could detect, Captain Sarah Torres watched the council meeting through advanced surveillance equipment. She was human, though the council had no idea humans like her existed. "Command, this is Ghost 7, she spoke into her communication device. "The council's taking the bait. They still think we're just farmers down there." "Copy that, Ghost 7, came the reply from Luna Base, hidden on the far side of Earth's moon. "Continue monitoring. Phase 2 begins at 0800. Sarah smiled as she looked at the data streaming across her screens. The Galactic Council had spent 2 centuries watching fake human settlements and carefully staged cultural broadcasts. They had no idea that real human civilization was far more advanced than they could imagine. The Council thought the mysterious attacks were coming from unknown aliens. They never suspected that the primitive humans they'd been protecting were actually the most powerful military force in the galaxy. Earth's hidden fleet had been preparing for this moment for 300 years. Now that the corrupt hegemony had finally gone too far, enslaving peaceful species and threatening the galaxy's stability, humanity was ready to act. The Council called it an unknown threat. Sarah called it justice. Soon the galaxy would learn the truth about Earth's hidden fleet. The shadow gates were opening and nothing would ever be the same again. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in the command center deep inside Luna Station, built into the hidden side of Earth's moon. Around her, dozens of technicians worked at glowing control panels. Holographic displays filled the air, showing the positions of human ships scattered throughout the galaxy. The numbers were impressive. 3,200 vessels ranging from small scout ships to massive battlecruisers. Each one had been operating in complete stealth for decades, invisible to galactic sensors and waiting for orders. "Ma'am," called Lieutenant Park from his station. "We're receiving confirmation signals from all fleet elements. Ghost Fleet is ready for activation." Elena nodded, her gray hair pulled back in a tight military bun. She had spent 40 years preparing for this moment. As Supreme Fleet Commander, she carried the weight of humanity's greatest secret on her shoulders. "Bring up the Shadow Gate network," she ordered. The main display changed to show a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. Tiny blue dots appeared throughout the image, each one representing a hidden shadow gate. There were over 500 gates, built inside asteroid fields, on rogue planets, and within stellar debris where no alien would ever think to look. "Network status is green across all sectors," reported the navigation officer. "We have clear transit paths to every major system." The shadow gates were humanity's greatest achievement. They allowed instant travel across vast distances by creating temporary holes in space-time. The technology had been developed from studying a crashed alien scout ship that landed in Earth's desert in 1952. The galactic community never knew their scout had gone missing. Admiral Chen Wei-Ming entered the Binge command center, his boots clicking on the metal floor. He was a tall man with serious eyes and graying temples. As Earth's senior military commander, he had helped plan this moment for decades. "Elena," he said formally, We've received authorization from Earth Command. The hegemony's latest actions have crossed the line. They enslaved the entire Jorvani species last week and are now threatening the Kalari Confederation. I know, Elena replied, studying the tactical displays. The galactic community won't act. They're too afraid of the hegemony's military strength. Someone has to stop them. Chen moved to stand beside her. The president has authorized full disclosure. After today, our secret will be out. Are you ready for that? Elena looked around the command center. Every person here had been born and raised in humanity's shadow fleet. They had spent their entire lives keeping the secret, living in hidden bases and traveling through space without ever being seen by other species. We always knew this day would come, she said. Signal all fleet commanders. Shadowgate protocol is authorized. Throughout the galaxy, human crews received the activation order they had trained for their entire lives. On the stealth destroyer, Nightfall, Captain Sarah Torres felt her heart racing as she gave the command she had waited 20 years to speak. All stations, power down the cloaking systems, she ordered. Ghost Fleet is going active. The ship's adaptive camouflage shut down for the first time since Sarah had taken command. Her vessel became visible to normal sensors, revealing its sleek black hull and advanced weapon systems. Around her, 200 other ships did the same thing, appearing in empty space like magic. Similar scenes played out across dozens of star systems. Human ships that had been watching alien civilizations from the shadows suddenly revealed themselves. Stealth carriers, assault cruisers, and support vessels materialized from nothing, their crews ready to begin humanity's first open military action. Captain James Park commanded the stealth carrier Prometheus from within a nebula that didn't appear on any galactic star charts. The entire cloud was artificial, created by human engineers to hide a massive fleet base. Inside the nebula, 300 ships had been waiting in perfect silence. This is Prometheus Base to all squadrons, James announced over the communication system. Phase 1 is complete. Begin Phase 2 operations immediately. His fighter squadrons launched from hidden bays throughout the nebula. The small craft were no larger than alien shuttles, but they carried weapons that could disable ships 100 times their size. They used gravity manipulation technology to target structural weak points, causing enemy vessels to fall apart without actually exploding. Meanwhile, on a mining station hidden inside an asteroid, Commander Liu Zhang prepared his crew for their special mission. The Silent Running was humanity's most advanced stealth frigate, designed specifically for intimidation operations. Target confirmed, his sensor officer reported. Hegemony Dreadnought Iron Fist, currently enslaving the population of Beta Centauri 7. Take us in, Liu ordered. Let's give them something to think about. The Silent Running moved through space like a ghost, completely invisible to alien sensors. It approached the massive Hegemony warship slowly, positioning itself directly in front of the enemy vessel's main bridge. Decloak, Liu commanded. The human frigate suddenly appeared less than a kilometer from the dreadnought's nose. The alien ship was 50 times larger, armed with enough weapons to destroy entire cities, but its crew froze in terror when they detected the unknown vessel. Liu activated the quantum communication system that connected every human ship in the galaxy. When he spoke, his words would be heard simultaneously by every alien military commander in space. This is Commander Liu Zhang of the Earth Defense Force, he announced calmly. To all Hegemony vessels, you will immediately cease all military operations and release any enslaved populations. This is your only warning. The Hegemony captain tried to respond, demanding to know who was giving orders to the galaxy's most powerful fleet. But Liu had already moved to the next phase of the operation. All fleet elements, he broadcast on the human command frequency. You are weapons-free. Begin liberation operations. Throughout Hegemony space, human ships attacked military installations with surgical precision. They disabled weapon systems, captured supply bases, and freed enslaved populations, all without causing unnecessary casualties. Every operation was planned to minimize loss of life while maximum military effectiveness. The Hegemony tried to fight back, but their ships seemed to fall apart on their own. Their weapons stopped working, their engines shut down, and their communication systems went silent. It was as if the universe itself was fighting against them. Back on Luna Station, Elena watched the tactical displays with satisfaction. Every human ship was performing exactly as planned. Years of training and preparation were paying off. "Ma'am," called the communications officer. "We're receiving surrender requests from 17 hegemony commanders. They want to know what our terms are." "Tell them to await further instructions," Elena replied, "and signal Earth Command. Tell them Phase 1 is complete." Admiral Chen smiled as he watched the displays. "The galaxy is about to get a very big surprise." Elena nodded, thinking about the peaceful human settlements that the Galactic Council had been watching for centuries. Those were just carefully maintained displays designed to hide humanity's true nature. The real human civilization had been preparing for this moment for 300 years. "Signal all commanders," she ordered. "Prepare for Phase 2. It's time to introduce ourselves to the Galactic Council." The Galactic Council chamber had never seen such chaos. Representatives shouted over each other in dozens of different languages, while emergency alarms wailed in the background. Admiral Zektar stood at the center of the room, trying to read from multiple data tablets at once. "Order! Please, order!" Speaker Velmoth banged her crystal gavel repeatedly, but no one was listening. The news was too shocking, too impossible to believe. "The unknown enemy isn't unknown," Zektar shouted. Over the noise, "It's the humans!" The chamber fell silent for a moment before exploding into even louder arguments. Dr. Vexani stood up, her 6 arms waving frantically. "That's impossible. We've been monitoring Earth for 2 centuries. They're farmers and artists. They don't even have space travel." "Look at the evidence." Zektar activated the holographic display. Images appeared showing human ships throughout hegemony space, their sleek forms clearly visible against the stars. "These readings are confirmed by 17 different sensor arrays. Those are human energy signatures, human ship designs, human crew transmissions." Ambassador Kethri of the Kalari people stared at the images in disbelief. Her musical voice shook as she spoke. "But we've seen their cities, their farms, their peaceful way of life. How could they hide technology like this?" "Everything we've seen was fake," Zektar replied grimly. "Our intelligence teams are analyzing the data now. Those human settlements we've been watching, they're just displays carefully designed to make us think humans were primitive. The implications hit the Council like a physical blow. For 200 years they had believed they were protecting an innocent species. Instead, that species had been watching them, studying them, and preparing for this moment. "The attack patterns make sense now," said Dr. Vexani, reading from her data pad. "The precision, the technology, the ability to appear and disappear at will. No wonder we couldn't identify the enemy ships." Representative Court of the Hegemony. Alliance slammed his fist on his chair. "This is an act of war. The humans have attacked our sovereign territory without provocation." "Without provocation?" Kethri's voice rose in anger. "Your people have enslaved entire species. Just last week you captured every Jorvani in their home system. That's legal under hegemony law. It's legal under your law, not galactic law." The argument was interrupted by an emergency communication. The main screen flickered to life, showing a human woman in military uniform. She appeared to be broadcasting from the bridge of a spacecraft. "Greetings, Galactic Council," she said in perfect, universal standard. "My name is Admiral Elena Vasquez, Supreme Commander of the Earth Defense Force. I believe we need to talk." The chamber fell completely silent. Even the emergency alarms seemed to quiet down. Every representative stared at the screen, seeing a human in a position of military authority for the first time. "You're watching our liberation operations throughout hegemony space," Elena continued. "I want to make our position clear. We have disabled 47 military installations, captured 12 supply bases, and freed over 2 million enslaved beings. All of this was accomplished with minimal casualties." Zektar found his voice. "Admiral Vasquez, the Galactic Council, demands an explanation. How have humans developed this technology without our knowledge?" Elena smiled slightly. "Admiral, your people have been watching fake human settlements for 2 centuries. You see what we wanted you to see. Our real civilization has been preparing for this day since our first contact with galactic society in 1952. First contact in 1952? Dr. Vexani checked her records frantically. We have no record of any contact with humans until 1823, when we began remote observations. That's because we found your scout ship first, Elena replied. It crashed in our desert. We studied your technology, learned your language, and discovered the existence of galactic civilization. We also learned about the hegemony's expansion and their use of enslaved labor. The revelation stunned the Council. Their first contact with humans had been a crash, not a planned observation mission. The humans had been aware of the galaxy for 3 centuries, not 2. We made a decision, Elena continued. Humanity would remain hidden until the galaxy needed us. We watched as the hegemony enslaved species after species while the Council did nothing effective to stop them. We decided to become the galaxy's guardian, whether you knew it or not. Representative Court stood up angrily. You had no right. The hegemony operates under established galactic law. Laws written by the strong to control the weak, Elena replied calmly. We reject those laws. Slavery is wrong regardless of which government approves it. On Earth, President Maria Santos addressed an emergency session of the United Nations. The massive assembly hall was packed with world leaders, military commanders, and representatives from every human nation. The secret is out, she announced. For 300 years, humanity has maintained dual civilizations. Our public face showed the galaxy a peaceful, primitive species. Our hidden face built the most advanced fleet in known space. The revelation was carefully planned. Selected human settlements had always been open to alien observation, complete with staged activities and fake technology demonstrations. The real human cities existed underground, in ocean depths, and in hidden space stations throughout the solar system. Our genetic scans, our behavioral studies, our cultural broadcasts, President Santos continued. All of it was designed to convince the galaxy that we posed no threat. Meanwhile, our real scientists developed technology that surpasses anything in their databases. General Harrison, head of the Shadow Fleet program, stood up to address the Q assembly. Our ships have been operating throughout the galaxy for decades. We've prevented wars, protected developing species, and gathered intelligence on every major civilization. The galaxy thinks they've been alone, but humanity has been watching over them the entire time. Back in space, Commander Liu Jiang's frigate, silent running, faced down a hegemony dreadnought 10 times its size. The massive alien warship bristled with weapons capable of destroying small moons, but its crew was paralyzed with fear. This is Commander Liu Jiang to all hegemony vessels, he broadcast on all military frequencies. You will surrender your enslaved populations immediately and withdraw to your core systems. Any ship that fires on liberated populations will be destroyed. The hegemony captain, War Admiral Thexoro, responded with typical arrogance. You face the might of 10,000 warships, human. Your small vessel cannot threaten the hegemony fleet. Liu's response was transmitted simultaneously to every military commander in the galaxy through quantum communication. Admiral Thexoro, look around you. Your supply lines are cut. Your communication networks are down. Your support bases have surrendered. You command ships without fuel, weapons without power, and crews without hope. It was true. Across hegemony, space, human forces had systematically dismantled the military infrastructure that supported their fleet. The hegemony's ships still existed, but they were stranded and helpless. Your expansion ends now, Liu continued. Withdraw to your original territories, release all enslaved populations, and establish democratic governments. Do this, and there will be no further conflict. Refuse, and discover why humanity spent 3 centuries preparing for war. The message sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. Every civilization that had feared hegemony expansion suddenly realized that a hidden guardian had been protecting them. The humans weren't just revealing themselves, they were fundamentally changing the balance of galactic power. In the council chamber, Elena's image looked directly at each representative. The age of expansion through conquest is over. Slavery is abolished throughout galactic space. Any government that opposes these principles will find itself facing the Earth Defense Force. Speaker Velmoth finally managed to speak. Admiral Vasquez, what do you want from the Council? Full membership, Elena replied simply. A voice in galactic government equal to our military contribution, and a complete restructuring of galactic law to protect the rights of all sentient beings. The request was more like a demand backed by overwhelming force. The humans had revealed themselves as the galaxy's most powerful military force, and they intended to use that power to remake galactic civilization according to their own moral standards. The galaxy would never be the same again. War Admiral Thexoro stood on the bridge of his flagship, Eternal Dominion, surrounded by tactical displays showing the largest military fleet in galactic history. 10,000 hegemony warships filled the space around him, their hulls gleaming, with weapon arrays and shield generators. The humans think they can intimidate the hegemony with their tricks, he growled to his staff officers. They will learn the price of challenging our authority. 3 days had passed since humanity's ultimatum. Thexoro had refused their demands and mobilized every available ship for this massive show of force. The fleet assembled in the Rigel sector where human vessels had last been detected. They found nothing but empty space. Admiral, reported his sensor officer, we're not detecting any human ships in this sector. Our scans show no energy signatures, no warp trails, nothing. Thexoro's 4 eyes narrowed in frustration. They're here somewhere. Run deep scans on every asteroid, every piece of debris. Use gravitational sensors, quantum detectors, everything we have. For 3 days, the massive fleet searched desperately. They found quantum echoes that seemed to mock them, energy traces that led nowhere, and sensor ghosts that vanished when investigated. The humans had disappeared as completely as they had appeared. But across hegemony space, the war was very real. Captain James Park commanded the stealth carrier Prometheus from inside his artificial nebula. The massive vessel served as a mobile base for fighter squadrons that struck at hegemony targets throughout the sector. Blue Squadron report status, he said into his communication system. Blue leader here, came the reply from Lieutenant Torres. Supply depot at Kepler 7 is secured, no casualties. The hegemony garrison surrendered without firing a shot. Green Squadron, what's your situation? Green leader reporting. Communication. Relay at Vega Station is offline. We disabled their transmitters and captured their databanks. Intel says they found evidence of 3 more slave camps. Park studied the tactical display showing operations throughout hegemony space. Humanity wasn't fighting a conventional war. Instead, they were systematically destroying the hegemony's ability to project power. Supply lines, communication networks, repair facilities, training centers, all of it was disappearing piece by piece. The human fighter craft were particularly effective. No larger than shuttles, they used gravity manipulation weapons that could tear apart the structural framework of much larger ships. A single squadron could disable an entire fleet by targeting critical support systems. All squadrons, new orders from Fleet Command, Park announced. Begin Phase 3 operations. Target list is being transmitted now. Phase 3 focused on hegemony administrative centers. Human forces didn't attack civilian populations, but they systematically dismantled the government infrastructure that supported the military machine. Tax collection centers went offline. Military recruitment offices found their databases wiped clean. Bureaucrats discovered their offices stripped of equipment and their files copied to human intelligence. Meanwhile, Admiral Elena Vasquez coordinated the Shadow War from her flagship Unconquered, a massive vessel that moved through space without appearing on any sensors. The ship was larger than most space stations, armed with weapons that could reshape local gravity and equipped with manufacturing systems that could build new spacecraft from raw materials. Status report, she requested from her command staff. Phase 2 is complete, replied her intelligence officer. Hegemony fleet cohesion is down by 60%. Their ships are running low on supplies, and their communication network is severely damaged. War Admiral Thexoro is still searching for us. In the Rigel sector with his main force. What about civilian casualties? 0 confirmed deaths, 17 injuries during surrender operations. All injured personnel received medical treatment and were released. Elena nodded with satisfaction. Humanity's rules of engagement were strict. They would destroy military capabilities without mercy, but civilian harm was absolutely forbidden. Every operation was planned to minimize loss of life while achieving maximum strategic effect. "Ma'am," called the navigation officer, "we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command." The main screen activated to show President Santos speaking from the Oval Office. "Admiral, the hegemony has just targeted civilian populations on 3 liberated worlds. They're using orbital bombardment to force the freed slaves back into captivity." Elena's expression hardened. Throughout the war, humanity had shown restraint even when facing an enemy that used enslaved labor. But targeting innocent civilians crossed a line that could not be ignored. "Orders, Madam President?" "Full authorization, Admiral. Show them why we call it the Unconquered." Elena turned to her crew with cold determination. "Set course for the Hegemony Capital System, maximum speed. It's time to end this war." The Unconquered emerged from hyperspace directly above the Hegemony homeworld, its massive hull blocking sunlight from reaching the planet's surface. The ship's presence alone caused worldwide panic as billions of aliens looked up to see humanity's flagship hanging in their sky like a dark moon. Planetary defense stations immediately targeted the human vessel, but their weapons failed to fire. Every military installation in the system discovered that their power systems had been selectively disabled by weapons they couldn't detect or understand. Elena's voice broadcast simultaneously to every communication device on the planet and every ship in the system. "This is Admiral Elena Vasquez of the Earth Defense Force. War Admiral Thexoro, you have violated the laws of war by targeting civilian populations. Your forces will cease all military operations immediately." From his flagship, in the Rigel sector, Thexoro responded with desperate anger. "You cannot threaten the hegemony homeworld. We have orbital defense platforms, planetary shields, millions of ground troops." "Had," Elena corrected calmly. "You had those things 3 minutes ago." Across the capital system, every military installation went dark simultaneously. Defense. Satellites stopped responding to commands. Weapon platforms drifted powerless in space. Shield generators shut down without explanation. The planet's entire military infrastructure had been neutralized in moments. "This is impossible," Thexoro whispered, staring at his tactical displays. No single ship could disable an entire star system. "The Unconquered isn't just a ship," Elena replied. "It's a mobile manufacturing platform, a fleet command center, and a demonstration of what humanity can accomplish when we stop holding back." The massive vessel began broadcasting detailed scans of every enslaved population in hegemony space. The data showed exact locations, living conditions, and identification records for millions of beings held against their will. "You have 24 hours to begin releasing these populations," Elena announced. "Every hour that passes without compliance will result in the systematic dismantling of your military capabilities. Continue targeting civilians, and we will target your ability to govern entirely." The demonstration continued as human forces throughout the galaxy revealed the true scope of their capabilities. Stealth ships that had been invisible suddenly appeared in formation around major hegemony installations. Hidden bases activated throughout supposedly empty star systems. The Shadowgate network opened to reveal supply lines and reinforcement routes that dwarfed anything the galaxy had ever seen. Back in the Rigel sector, War Admiral Thexoro faced a terrible choice. His massive fleet was stranded without supplies or support. His homeworld was defenseless. His government's ability to function was disappearing by the hour. "Sir," reported his communications officer, "we're receiving surrender requests from 17 sector commanders. They're asking for terms." Thexoro looked around his bridge at officers who had served the hegemony for decades. They had believed their empire was invincible, that their massive fleets and enslaved populations made them the masters of the galaxy. Now they faced an enemy that had been preparing for this moment for 3 centuries. An enemy that fought with precision instead of brutality, moral conviction instead of greed, and technology that made their most advanced weapons look like primitive tools. "Open a channel to the human flagship," he said quietly. "It's time to discuss surrender." The age of hegemony expansion was over. The age of human guardianship had begun. The war ended not with explosions and destruction, but with a simple transmission broadcast across the galaxy. War Admiral Thexoro, his voice heavy with defeat, announced the hegemony's unconditional surrender to the Earth Defense Force. "All hegemony military forces will stand down immediately," he said from the bridge of his flagship. "Enslaved populations will be released and provided with transportation to worlds of their choosing. The Hegemony Council agrees to restructure our government according to human demands." In the Galactic Council chamber, representatives sat in stunned silence as they watched the most powerful military empire in their history surrender to a species they had thought was primitive. The implications were staggering. Speaker Velmoth finally found her voice. "The Council recognizes the changed circumstances in galactic affairs. We request an immediate session with human representatives to discuss the new political situation. Dr." Vexani was still analyzing sensor data from the human fleet. "Their technology is at least 500 years ahead of anything we've developed," she reported. "Their ships use energy sources we don't understand, materials that shouldn't exist, and weapons that manipulate fundamental forces of the universe." "How is this possible?" demanded Representative Court, though his usual arrogance was gone. "How could they advance so far while remaining hidden?" "By watching us," said Admiral Zektar grimly. "They've been studying every species in the galaxy. For centuries. They know our technologies, our tactics, our weaknesses. Meanwhile, we knew nothing about their true capabilities." The answer came from an unexpected source. President Maria Santos appeared on the Council's main screen, broadcasting from Earth's first official embassy station, newly constructed in Earth's L4 Lagrange point. "Honorable Council members," she began, "humanity requests full membership in the Galactic Assembly and formal representation equal to our military contribution. We also propose a complete revision of galactic law." She paused to let that sink in before continuing. "Slavery is abolished throughout galactic space, effective immediately. Any government that permits the ownership of sentient beings will be considered hostile to galactic peace. The rights of developing species are protected absolutely. No civilization may interfere with or exploit species that have not achieved interstellar travel." The proposed changes were revolutionary. For millennia, galactic law had been written by the strongest civilizations to benefit themselves. Now humanity was demanding a system based on protecting the weak instead of empowering the strong. "We don't ask for this authority," President Santos continued. "We take it. The Shadowgate network will be open to peaceful trade and exploration, but humanity will maintain our role as galactic peacekeepers. Any species that threatens galactic stability will face the Earth Defense Force." The transformation was already beginning. Across former hegemony space, liberation fleets worked around the clock to free enslaved populations. Captain Sarah Torres, now commanding a joint species task force, supervised the evacuation of a slave labor camp on Kepler 9. "That's the last transport," reported her Kalari communications officer. "All 12,000 Jorvani are aboard and heading home to their ancestral systems." Sarah watched the transport ships disappear through a shadow gate, carrying beings who had been slaves just days before back to worlds they thought they would never see again. Similar scenes were playing out throughout the galaxy as millions of enslaved people gained their freedom. The former slaves weren't the only ones adapting to the new reality. On the hegemony homeworld, a crowd of civilians gathered outside the government complex where human advisors were helping establish democratic elections. Many of the hegemony citizens had never known any system except authoritarian rule. Commander Liu Zhang stood before the crowd, no longer hiding in stealth but wearing the official uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. "Your new government will be chosen by you," he announced. "Every adult citizen gets one vote. No exceptions, no special privileges, no hereditary positions." The concept was foreign to many hegemony citizens, but human advisors worked patiently to explain democratic principles. Other human teams were establishing independent courts, free press systems, and constitutional protections that would prevent future authoritarian governments. Meanwhile, on Luna Station, Admiral Elena Vasquez reviewed reports from across the galaxy. Her command center now served as the headquarters for galactic peacekeeping operations, coordinating human forces throughout known space. Status report, she requested from her staff. Hegemony transition is proceeding smoothly, replied her intelligence officer. 17 former slave species have established independent governments. The Jorvani Parliament voted to join our defensive alliance. The Kalari Confederation is requesting human advisors to help modernize their military. What about new contacts, Captain? Torres reports successful first contact with the Zephyrian Collective in the Andromeda approach vector. They're a peaceful trading civilization that's been hiding from the hegemony for decades. They want to join the new galactic order. Elena smiled as she processed the information. Humanity's revelation had encouraged dozens of species to come out of hiding. The galaxy was larger and more diverse than anyone had realized, but fear of hegemony expansion had kept entire civilizations in the shadows. "Ma'am," called the communications officer, "we're receiving a priority message from Earth." The main screen activated to show a familiar face. Dr. Sarah Chen, director of the Human Colonial Development Program, was broadcasting from Mars Base Alpha. "Admiral, I wanted to give you the first status report on our expansion program. Now that we're no longer hiding, human colonies are being established in 12 star systems. We're also beginning cultural exchange programs with 43 different species. The cultural exchanges were particularly important. For centuries, humanity had maintained the illusion of being primitive farmers and artists. Now they could share their real achievements in science, philosophy, art, and technology with species who had never imagined such possibilities. But perhaps the most significant change was taking place on Earth itself. In cities around the world, human children looked up at stars that no longer held secrets. The age of hiding was over. In New York's Central Park, 8-year-old Maria Rodriguez sat on a bench next to her new friend, a young Kalari refugee named Kethli. The alien child was one of thousands who had come to Earth as part of the resettlement program for liberated slaves. "My teacher says your people saved my family," Kethli said in her musical voice. "She says humans have been protecting the galaxy for a long time." Maria nodded seriously. "My dad works on one of the big ships. He says it was hard to keep the secret, but it was important. Bad people were hurting others, and someone had to stop them. Around them, other children played together regardless of species. Human kids taught alien friends how to play soccer, while young aliens shared the mathematics of their homeworlds. It was a sight that would have been impossible just months before." Back on Luna Station, Elena stood at an observation deck looking out at the Earth rising over the lunar horizon. The blue and white world looked the same as always, but everything had changed. Humanity was no longer hidden, no longer pretending to be less than they were. Admiral Chen joined her at the observation window. "Any regrets about revealing ourselves?" "None," Elena replied firmly. "We spent 3 centuries preparing for this responsibility. Now we have to live up to it." She thought about the challenges ahead. Dozens of species were requesting human protection, while they developed their own defenses. The former hegemony territories needed help establishing stable governments. New civilizations were making contact every week, drawn by the promise of protection from expansionist empires. "The shadow gates are operating at full capacity," Chen reported. "Trade volume has increased by 3,000% since we opened the network to civilian traffic. The Kalari are sharing their art throughout the galaxy. The Jorvani are teaching agriculture techniques to species on desert worlds. The Zephyrians want to establish a galactic university system." Elena smiled at the reports. This was what humanity had always hoped for. A galaxy where different species could cooperate and learn from each other instead of fighting endless wars for dominance. "There's something else," Chen added. "Long-range sensors have detected artificial signals from the Magellanic Clouds. It looks like there are other galaxies with intelligent life." Elena turned to look at her old friend. "Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting?" The Shadowgate network could be expanded, Chen said carefully. If there are hostile civilizations in other galaxies, someone will need to stand ready to protect our galaxy. Elena looked back at the Earth, thinking about the children playing. In parks, the former slaves building new lives and the peaceful species who could now explore the stars without fear. Humanity had spent 3 centuries preparing to be the galaxy's guardian. Perhaps it was time to think about protecting multiple galaxies. Let's focus on our own galaxy first, she decided. But start preliminary research on intergalactic gate construction. If there are other species out there who need protection, humanity will be ready. The age of secrecy was over. The age of human guardianship had begun, and somewhere in the vast cosmos,